Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Wrestlenomics Radio. I'm Brandon Thurston, broadcasting live and on demand from Buffalo, New York, where today is Sunday, February 27th, 2021. Today on the program, I am joined, as always, by our co-host, correspondent, ring announcer, who I will now reveal. There he is, Chris Gullo. Hello.
Hello, yeah, it's happy to be here, and we have a great edition of Wrestlenomics Radio for you. We're actually going to discuss the upcoming interview that Vince McMahon will have on the Pat McAfee show. There's been a lot of buzz around what that can entail, and we're going to discuss it here. We're also going to discuss WrestleMania ticket outlook, how many are sold, and maybe where do we think that attendance number is going to end up at. We're going to discuss the recent proposed merger between Triller and C Charger. What does that mean for wrestling? Well, it means Fight TV. And we got some Fight TV data as far as revenue and cost for last year. All that and so much more on this Sunday morning edition of Wrestlenomics Radio.
I'm joined by a fellow Spectrum customer, Chris Gullo.
Not a Spectrum customer.
No, you're not a Spectrum customer.
So, as I was telling you real quickly on the air, here is my drama. I'll just air it out for all our listeners. So, I noticed yesterday morning there was a cable from my house going very low, leaning very low to the ground to my neighbor's driveway, probably because of the wind and the snow we've had in Buffalo. And I called the electrical company because that's what I thought it was, and they came in 20 minutes. And they're like, oh, no, that's not us. That's a Spectrum cable line. I'm like, oh, okay. So I called Spectrum at 12:30 yesterday. They said, listen, it's an all-day appointment, but somebody will be in your house before 9 o'clock. Nobody showed up.
That's right. So that's Spectrum. We'll be there sometime during the day tomorrow. Could be 9. Could be 2.
I told them this morning that, can you please come before 11 o'clock? And when do you think they're here? They're here right now. But I have my wife
bring them in.
My phone.
Are they interested in being interviewed? This is a media podcast.
They don't need to come inside my house. That's the thing. They can stay outside.
The telecom portion of Wrestlenomics.
I had a representative tell me that because I'm not an active customer, I'm a low priority. Well, I'm like, well, this is a safety hazard. So,
God. Okay.
I buried Spectrum already. Here we go. This is gonna be a great day.
Alrighty. I hope we're balanced well here. Let me know in the chat if we're not. So what do you want to talk about today? What's new in the world of professional wrestling? Did you do any shows lately in the last?
No, I've been off the last 2 weekends. We'll do it in our plugs, but I do have shows coming up soon in March, and WrestleMania week is getting exciting, so we'll talk that a little bit later. But nothing this past weekend. So really, just kind of excited. This is the highlight of my weekend, Brandon, and I'm actually excited about this opening topic if we want to get right into it. This coming Thursday at noon, live streaming, Vince McMahon will be on the Pat McAfee show. And not only is that a big thing, and which we'll talk about, but this was, of course, from our partners at Post Wrestling. Another major name is expected to take part in WrestleMania 38, which will surprise some. Post Wrestling can confirm that Vince McMahon is expected to launch a program with Pat McAfee, which will include WrestleMania 38. Multiple sources informed us that McAfee was set for something on the show involving McMahon. When speaking with the source with knowledge of the situation and whether it would be billed as an official match on the WrestleMania card, we were told most likely. McMahon will be appearing on the Pat McAfee show this Thursday at noon Eastern and will presumably begin the story.
Yes. I got very excited. I got very excited when I heard about this. When's the last time Vince McMahon has sat down for an interview? I mean, we can think of interviews further in the past, such as his multiple interviews with Bob Costas, where he became quite hostile with Bob Costas in one of them. But Vince, I don't think has done an interview of any length. I know he's given quotes to some media here and there, Variety. I think there's a local media outlet that was doing a WrestleMania or something that he gave printed quotes to. But he hasn't done an interview of any length that I can think of.
Broken Skull Sessions is the last thing I could think of, and that's what he said. Cesaro didn't have the charisma.
That's before there was Broken Skull Sessions. That was just the Stone Cold
podcast.
Just
the Stone Cold podcast. Okay, yeah.
It had one name on the network. He was using a different name. I forget, the Steve Austin show. Anyway, December 2014 is when that was. And I think that's one of the most compelling things that WWE has put out, in the last 10 years, is that interview. I'm not joking. That interview with Austin and Vince, where Austin has the credibility to ask him certain questions and kind of press him on some things, whereas he's not gonna bully Steve Austin the way that he kind of bullied Bob Costas. But yeah, I think that was also a PR disaster and a talent morale disaster. Just letting Vince talk for an hour and 10 minutes or however long it was. But maybe is this going to be an actual full-length interview now? John Pollock reporting that there's going to be some sort of match involving Vince and Pat McAfee at WrestleMania. This sounds like it's going to be turned into an angle. But I'll be watching closely at noon on Thursday. There's also go ahead. I'm sorry. There's also a big Wrestlenomics guest that we may be having on Tuesday. I think W might have gotten wind of that and had to one up us. But yeah, go ahead and say what you're gonna say.
No, I was just gonna say. I mean, I find this super interesting because Pat McAfee, of course, he's involved with WWE as a SmackDown color commentator, but he's a very, very huge podcaster. This show is a big deal. And this is multimedia, especially in the sports market. Aaron Rodgers goes on there regularly, and he's been giving kind of a glimpse of his future on there, like and whatnot. So this is good. This is definitely a big deal. So like this is going to get the coverage I think that they would want if they're hyping up WrestleMania. I think if Vince was just coming out and talking about the business, maybe this wouldn't been the show. But because they're trying to hype up WrestleMania, that's what this feels to me.
Yeah, I think the reason, I mean, Pat McAfee being a commentator on SmackDown and maybe getting more leeway in some ways than other commentators get, I think is partly because of Pat McAfee's mainstream success, right? He's as you mentioned, he's done a number of Aaron Rodgers interviews, right? But most memorably, the Aaron Rodgers interview where he discussed his vaccine status and things like that. But I think back, Pat McAfee's been doing stuff with WWE for quite a while, and didn't he get heat with Vince in that story that he got heat with Vince because he was wearing shorts or something like that?
Yes.
It was around the time that like LeBron James was like dressing in like a suit but shorts, and that was like a fashion statement for a minute. And Pat McAfee was sort of copying that, and he got heat. This was years ago. I feel like this is like 2015.
Shorts at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I think that was the big deal.
And he was probably, I don't know Pat McAfee's career. People listening probably know it better, but I think he was doing some broadcasting things already at that point, but he wasn't the big deal that he is now. And I think, he gets some leeway because, by God, he does things beyond the wrestling business. It's like a celebrity. There'll be no shortage of celebrities.
Apparently Michael Cole yelled at him.
Well,
and it was the New York City WrestleMania, so 2019, not far removed.
Really? Okay. But I hope we get a good full length interview with Vince. I'm working on a bingo card. Ted Turner, things of that nature, and then from there, that notwithstanding, extraordinary superstar, nonetheless. In any event. Be that as it may,
entertainment,
sports entertainment, wrestling. Yeah, everybody wants. I don't know. Does everybody? I want to hear him talk about AEW. And any mention or reference of gore and blood and guts. Yeah. Ted Turner's AEW. We'll see. Yeah, he's not as a CEO, I guess. He's not somebody who talks a lot. I mean, I've looked at how little he talks on the earnings calls. Very little relative to other CEOs, but we will see. Is Vince McMahon is now 76? Is going to take bumps at WrestleMania? I'm not sure. Maybe Austin Theory will be involved in this match. That's just speculation, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
I see this as a battle of the billionaires type thing, where he's going to manage somebody, and McAfee's probably going to manage somebody, and then
McAfee can bump. We know that he can wrestle.
He can, yes. But he's also would be as a good mouthpiece for somebody else if they're trying to elevate somebody. Mm-hmm. So, but that's just me talking logical booking. What am I doing here? You just know how this is going to be. It'll be some deal, and then
always have to take shots at WWE. Lose,
yep. And Vince will have something embarrassing happen to him, and there we go.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I'm interested, but this also, and we'll kind of talk about it a little bit, this makes you wonder about tickets, if they're kind of like just playing every card they possibly could have.
Yeah. So let's jump to tickets now. I know I have the sponsor thing next, but we'll go to that after this. So maybe part of this is that it should help. I don't know if Vince having a match is that big of a deal. But Austin having a match, which is being speculated on, Austin versus Kevin Owens, seems like something that's going to happen. I had one mainstream outlet reach out to me to ask me earlier this week about the effect that Austin might have on the event. And we do know, because of WrestleTix, that the 2-day WrestleMania event is about 2/3 of the way sold out. So there's about 1/3 left to sell. WrestleTix has the count at 52,659 for night 1, 53,260 for night 2. That's a total of more than 105,000 tickets out. As we know, WrestleMania at AT&T Stadium, that can hold 100,000 people, right? That stadium holds 100,000 people. Correct?
Well, I mean, technically it can, but where did that many attend?
So they announced in 2016 when they did WrestleMania 32 in Dallas in the telecom company stadium. It does hold 100,000 apparently for football. Their stage is going to kill a good 20,000 seats or something. Who knows? And they put tickets on the floor as well. But Arlington Police Department told me that the turnstile count, which I believe is comparable to tickets distributed, or is tickets distributed, Arlington Police told me 80,709 in 2016. So just under 81,000. If you multiply that by 2, you get 161,418. So 161,000 tickets they have. It's their total inventory of tickets, roughly. Something in that realm. I would imagine that the production kills will be similar, right? Because it'll be another massive WrestleMania stage, right? So they have about 106,000 out now out of 161,000. That's about 66% out. So they have about 33% still left to distribute. So maybe Austin helps. I think Austin probably will help. Obviously that match is not official yet. I know they made some announcements earlier this week about what night the Rousey and Charlotte match would be on, and what night the Reigns and Lesnar match would be on. So these counts from WrestleTix, I believe, are from earlier this month, but probably about a week or so old. But I'm sure WrestleTix will be updating it as we get closer to WrestleMania. Will WrestleMania sell out even with Austin with Vince versus Pat McAfee and Austin Theory doing bumps for him or something.
I had this as a conversation with a buddy of mine earlier this week about the fan experience of WrestleMania, and it seems very rushed this year. I haven't heard any official announcement for a fan access. Takeover is going to be Saturday morning at 11 o'clock. So if you want to do, well, not Takeover, what we're going to call it. So if you want to do both, you're basically going to have to hit the American Airlines Arena, do that show, and then pretty much get ready to go to WrestleMania. Because things in Dallas aren't easy to get to, as I'm finding out, like planning travel.
Are you going to go to any of these shows? You're going to go to
I may go Sunday night. I may go Sunday night to Mania. Saturday I cannot. Saturday night I will be working a show in Fort Worth.
You're running competition against WWE that night.
Yeah, I am.
I see.
Yes. But Sunday maybe, but it's all kind of see how it goes. That is Sunday's my base. I'm calling my vacation day. That's the day. So I'll see what I want to do with my day there. But yeah, the Hall of Fame is right after SmackDown.
Right. It is part of the SmackDown ticket.
Yes. Everything is so rushed this year. And I don't think it's very fan friendly from being someone that attended in New Orleans, a lot of the New Orleans WrestleMania events, and then, was in town for the New York Mania and knew what was going on. I mean, I got to tell you, I'm sure WrestleCon is very happy about access not seeming to be a thing, because I remember being at WrestleCon in 2019 and multiple people being pulled off the day of WrestleCon or while WrestleCon was going on because WWE needed them for access.
I think WrestleMania, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they move the ticket map and how much of a capacity they can distribute. But I think their capacity is about 80,000 on each day if they want to put all that stuff on sale. So I would view a sellout as about 80,000 each day. Are they going to get there? I would imagine they're going to come short of that. They're going to move more than the 66% that they've moved so far. But I would imagine maybe 90%, maybe 85%, even with Austin. On the scale of pro wrestling history, though, this is still going to be a huge live gate for 2 days. I imagine it's going to be a roughly $200 average ticket. $200 average ticket price it's been a little bit higher than that even. Maybe the discounts will bring that down. The high supply of tickets will bring down the price. But let's say 200, just on the 106,000 that they have right now, they've probably moved over $20 million in tickets. That's over 2 days. But the biggest pro wrestling gate ever adjusted for inflation is what, Chris Gullo?
The biggest adjusted for inflation, WrestleMania 3?
No. Oh, not but that's been blown out of the water long ago.
And you've asked me this before too, and I got this wrong in Wrestlenomics Jeopardy. I know I did.
Did you?
It
is WrestleMania 32 in the same venue in 2016. $17.3 million in 2016 money. So and that does. I mean, all these WrestleManias in this stadium era in these last few years before COVID are like all of the biggest pro wrestling gates ever. Yeah. So this will. I don't know if they're going to get to like $30 million, but maybe we'll see. If we just say, I don't know, what's 81,000 times 2, and let's say they sell 90% of that, we're at 146,000 tickets. Let's say average ticket price is like $210 or something like that. It's been up to like $250, but let's say it gets pushed down. I know we had that Valentine's Day discounts that they were offering 2 for 1. They might approach a $30 million gate over 2 days. But individually, they're not going to break that 2016 record. But that's a lot of money over 2 days, and those will each be among the most lucrative ticket selling events ever. The Raw and the SmackDown. I mean, we've only had WrestleTix doing the great work that they've been doing since not for a full year yet, so we don't have years of data to look back on. The Raw after WrestleMania, though, is not sold out right now, which is in Dallas the next day. It's usually a super hot ticket. It's usually, I mean, if I recall, that event would sell out relatively instantly. You could not get tickets for that. But as of whenever WrestleTix counted last, I'm not sure right now, but probably within the last week or two, there's still almost 1,900 tickets left as of WrestleTix last count. The SmackDown on the day before the first day of WrestleMania, which is also the Hall of Fame, still has 1,400 tickets out. Available, I should say. So more than 10,000 are sold for both, or not sold, but distributed for both days. I'm sorry, I'm looking at capacity. 9,000 out for Raw after WrestleMania, 8,600 out for SmackDown / Hall of Fame. But more than 1,000 tickets still available for both days, which is I wouldn't expect that to be the case, at least in years prior, where, again, we could check on this, but I believe Raw after WrestleMania was an instant sellout. That was such a hot ticket. And I think we're just seeing, well, maybe part of it's COVID and people not wanting to travel as much. I don't know. But still, that was such a hot ticket. I think it does indicate something about the audience for WWE that is left, in that we have this more I don't know, matured progression of the wrestling audience that has, kind of some people who have given up on WWE. Obviously, there's still this very large audience for WWE that remains. But I think we see that manifest in the crowd reactions, in that you have a more compliant crowd lately. I think the people who would be more disruptive, the vocal minority, the bifurcation of the audience that, in my view, WWE has caused by alienating a portion of its audience. I think those people are gone, and maybe that's accounting for the lack of these events selling out when they normally would sell out, I think.
I'd like to compare it to, really, you're trying to think of large outdoor North American events, right? Like, that's what I'm trying to compare it to. And in Super Bowl and WrestleMania, and the Super Bowl and the college football championship would probably be the comparison. But if I go on right now, and this is through SeatGeek, which is the official partner with WWE on WrestleMania tickets, I can get a ticket for $30. When it comes to a college football championship, or especially a Super Bowl, the cheapest seats in the house are in the hundreds of dollars. Like, so, like, I don't know if they should go back to one night just to kind of increase that value of a ticket. But you're stretching over 2 nights. Now you got $30 tickets out there, tons of them, with about a month away from the show.
If money is your main concern, there's nothing wrong with doing 2 nights, I think. And I don't have, if you're asking me about my taste as a fan, I wish it was one event that was not 7 hours long, but that was more like 3 or 4 hours long. But, practically speaking, I don't expect WWE to have the creative discipline to put on a show that's that condensed and organized. So I think, Harold May had it right. It's one thing we can credit to Harold May, doing the 2-night Wrestle Kingdom. I don't know if that played into W's decision making here as a lesson, or if they're noticing that at all. But they're gonna make a lot more money doing it this way, because they're sort of taking the expense of one WrestleMania, and by making it 2, you're not stretching that expense that much further. It's a very expensive event to put on, but to do it for 1 extra day doesn't double the expense. But you do not quite double the gate, but nearly. So it's it's like a 3-hour Raw. It's just make as much content as possible, and we haven't killed off the audience completely yet. There's still a pretty healthy audience for this, so everything's going well.
To your Harold May thing, I can make a joke that if they continue to follow that formula, there will be a third night next year, but in the most WWE way, the third night will be in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, why not? The Saudi government pays them so much money. You have to, put these events on for their business partners. I hope there is a business partner summit. I haven't heard. I do hope there's a business partner summit that we see on corporate.w.com. W, if you want to draw me down to your week of events, bring back the W Business Partner Summit, and you probably don't want me there, but maybe I can sneak in. Anyway, we have sponsors. Yes.
Yes, we'll go back to sponsors here. Yeah, so this was from the Business Wire, Stamford, Connecticut. Mars Incorporated, Take Two Interactive, and WWE today announced a partnership that makes Snickers and WWE 2K22 presenting partners of WrestleMania 38, taking place Saturday, April 2nd and Sunday, April 3rd at AT&T Stadium in Dallas. The partnership will mark the first time in WrestleMania history that two brands have served as presenting partners for WWE's pop culture extravaganza. As part of the agreement, Snickers and WWE 2K22, the forthcoming latest installment from 2K's popular WWE video game series, will stake claim to each evening's WrestleMania main event matches presenting partners. Anticipation builds for the biggest matches of the year. Snickers and WWE 2K22 will compete in their own heavyweight matches. The brands will go head-to-head in a multi-platform campaign on the road to WrestleMania.
So we're gonna get like a multi-person tag match with the Snickers side and then the W2 and the 2K Sports side. I'm sure there's going to be some sort of integration like that. Just
Team Snickers.
We've seen the Pizza Hut Battle Royal. We've seen Rey Mysterio with his Victoria Beer tribute gear. We've seen the Big Egg promoting the Rock Netflix movie that was a part of Survivor Series. I'm sure they're going to do some sort of integration that they'll do, and then Stephanie McMahon will talk about in the Q1 call in May. So looking forward to that. Yeah. 2K Sports, by the way, that game comes out in March. 2K Sports is owned by Take Two. I own a few shares in Take Two. I wonder what's going to happen here. I know we're seeing trailers. Do you play the 2K games?
I haven't in a few years. No. I have not got a updated video game console since a PS3 maybe. I mean, I don't know if I had the PS4, and I'm more of a retro gamer.
Okay.
So
I get the impression that the reception of this game is pretty important. I don't know when this deal with 2K Sports is up. I know Mike Straw has done some reporting about this. I've noticed on LinkedIn that Stephanie McMahon and the COO of Electronic Arts, or EA Sports, I think it's just EA, the COO of EA and Stephanie have been interacting in a friendly way on LinkedIn on at least two occasions. I know that the EA COO she shared and expressed admiration for the Saudi Arabia poster with Becky Lynch and Lita that everyone was celebrating. So that's curious. That maybe there's some flirtation happening there between WWE and EA, which is a video game company that does Madden, of course. Will be interesting to see if WWE sticks with 2K Sports going forward with all the issues that game has had and mixed reception over the years.
Maybe we'll do some type of video game business bonus episode. Mike Straw, me and him are both WBNY alumni, so I've known Mike for years.
Oh,
so
good.
Try to get something going here. Yeah,
we should. Yeah, when there's a big news story or something, we should see if he wants to come on. Okay. Revolution.
Yeah, Revolution tickets, and as of right now, here according to WrestleTix, there is estimated capacity 8,217 and 8,179 has been distributed. So it looks like a near sellout for AEW Revolution this Sunday evening.
Yes,
as of Sunday from today.
38 tickets still left. There's I understand quite a few tickets on the resale market. So Dave Meltzer on earlier this week on Wrestling Observer Radio, I understand he has written about this in the Observer newsletter also. He said that resellers, so secondary ticket market resellers, they spent about $304,000 on 3,000 800 face value tickets, which, if you do the math there, that would imply an average ticket purchase of those tickets, not of the whole venue, but of those tickets, the average ticket purchase price, if there's $304,000 spent by those resellers over 3,800 tickets, that's about $80 per ticket. According to Dave, they've turned those $304,000 worth into $840,000 of resale revenue, which would imply an average resale of $254, so more than tripling their value. According to Dave, I believe this was Monday or Tuesday, there were 500 resale tickets left, so they'll reach 900,000, Dave said, and that a roughly $536,000 profit, and which would, according to Dave again, would come to almost $600,000 in profit, not to AEW, but to resellers, which is more than perhaps AEW will generate in revenue off of ticket sales. I don't know about this. So I asked.
How would you track that? Like, I mean, I can imagine a major ticket sellers that you're aware of, but like I have a friend who's a independent ticket reseller, but how would he know like that was his business?
Well, this guy's a reseller. Dave says he has someone in the industry who's giving him information about this, in the ticketing industry. But I asked about this, and I was told that the Ticketmaster back end for Revolution only showed, this is earlier this week, so it's maybe slightly different now, but earlier this week, it was only showing 700 tickets had been resold for about $110,000, which would mean an average resale of 157, not 254, but 157. So not quite half, a little bit more than half. That would be a 2 times markup, not a 3 times markup. If the average face value price was the same at $80. But $80 does sound like a plausible average ticket price. The WrestleTix count as of earlier this week was showing 800 resales, 800 pink dots remaining, and that accounts for Ticketmaster and StubHub. If you assume all 800 yet to be sold and all 700 that have already sold would sell at an average ticket resale price of 157 after being bought for 80. Following me here? Then I get to $236,000 in revenue for resellers, which comes out to $116,000 profit, not 536. I get 116. Needless to say, well, that would mean, so the number to compare that to is not 536, but actually the 600,000 that Dave thinks. Dave thinks more than $500,000 in profit for resellers, excuse me. 116 is what I get based on the information that I've been told. I think, and it was being brought up by Dave in the context of, are they pricing tickets appropriately? I think that's another issue that's worth scrutinizing. And WWE,
I think a question that could be pondered is, should they run bigger arenas for their big four?
Perhaps, yeah, and maybe price them in such a way that preempts the resale market from making a lot. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that I'm not sure that the resellers are making as much money as Dave thinks, if the information I'm being told is correct. So it looks like resellers will make more than $100,000 in profit, but probably not $600,000. So maybe AEW could price things a little bit higher. Maybe they could run bigger venues for these pay-per-views. I think they could. Yeah. So there's that. Sure. What
Any
next?
other ticket stuff we want to go over before we move on to YouTube?
I do have this table to look at.
Yeah.
February is almost over. It's not quite over yet. Raw and SmackDown are averaging better than Dynamite is the big takeaway here, after that was not so much the case in January, where Dynamite actually averaged a little bit higher than WWE for tickets distributed. House shows in February were up from January for WWE, up to 4,600 from 3,500 in January. SmackDown continues to be the most, the highest, the event type with the highest average tickets distributed, 6,500. Which what accounts for that? Is it just Roman Reigns is a draw, the needle mover? Maybe it's Friday night's a better night to sell tickets on. A worse TV night, but a better ticket selling night. Maybe that's a factor.
It's a going out night, you know.
Yeah. So there's that. We are in this point going towards WrestleMania, where we're seeing some numbers for WWE strengthen. Right, we saw Raw do a pretty good rating on Monday. I think that is partly due to Cody, but not completely. It would be a decent rating probably without that is Cody going to show up factor. And we do see January, February, March are the strongest months for domestic ticket sales for WWE traditionally. And we're seeing a sort of a leveling off of, is Dynamite going to start to exceed Raw, at least in this sort of short-term trend. So we continue to watch that going forward.
All right, yeah, we are going to move on to some YouTube data that we got. As Brandon, you've been diligently getting this YouTube data, which I think paints a pretty good picture of secondary viewing, in my opinion, as far as what people are viewing after the original streams or airings on terrestrial TV. No,
well, I'm going to use this table to confirm my own bias here. That what I was making a point a couple weeks ago about how I think YouTube videos tell you something about popularity, and they tell you something about popularity in probably a more clean way than quarter hours do. And I want to show this table here. What we've got here in front of us for people listening on audio is the top 10 YouTube clips of weekly shows, so of Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite, Rampage, NXT. The top 10 consists, this is sorted by what they did over the first 24 hours only. I've also got the number that they have as of this morning off to the right. But just to level the playing field, let's just take the first 24 hours of this video's existence. How many views did it collect over that 24-hour period? What we've got here in the top 10 are only clips for Raw, SmackDown, and Dynamite, which aligns with the ratings, right? Those are the top 3 shows in US TV viewership. YouTube is global. I'm not saying compare the numbers, the views to the viewership. That's not an apples to apples comparison, as people like to shout at me about various things. But views are definitely not the same thing as viewership. Views usually represent, I think in the case of YouTube, it represents maybe like a 30-second viewing experience, whereas viewership is the minute by minute average over an entire period. So it's a very different kind of measurement. Not to mention that YouTube is a global measurement. The ratings that we are almost always talking about is a US only measurement, unless we're talking about Canadian viewership or UK viewership for some reason, which is in our case very rare. So anyway, the top video in the first 24 hours, which has actually been surpassed by the number 2 video as of this morning. But both of these videos involving Brock Lesnar. And don't you know that the number 1 video over 24 hours, collecting 1.6 million views over those 24 hours, is Brock Lesnar Decimates. Brock Lesnar doing destruction of various things is always a big hit on YouTube, it seems. The full title is Brock Lesnar Decimates Roman Reigns Security Ambush. This is from SmackDown. The number 2 clip is Paul Heyman announces a WrestleMania roadblock for Brock Lesnar. So that's the number 1 SmackDown video. That's the number 1 Raw video. We don't have SmackDown quarters to compare this to, but we do have Raw and Dynamite quarters. The number 1 Dynamite clip is what brought MJF to tears. So it's the MJF live promo that people are loving this week. And that reflects. So the number 2, we should mention this too. The number 2 Raw clip of the week is the Edge live promo. If we look to Raw quarter hours, the most watched quarter on Raw this week was the Brock Lesnar live promo. It's hard to say, the Q1 for Raw might often be. I don't have enough quarter hours for Raw to tell you this for sure, but the first quarter could be the most viewed normally. But this was by far the most viewed quarter of the entire show, with 2.1 million viewers on average across the 15 minutes. And it was the most viewed in the demo as well, by a fair margin. So that adds up. That's at least consistent that we have the biggest YouTube clip for Raw is also the most watched quarter for Raw. We don't have SmackDown quarters to look at, but we do have, let's look at Dynamite. The most viewed YouTube clip from Dynamite is the MJF live promo. The quarter that had the most growth across various demos was the quarter that involved the MJF live promo. Every quarter for Dynamite lost viewers in total. This is the quarter that lost viewers the least. I know we've got a number of -1% here, but this must be like the lowest -1 when you round it to the nearest full percent. It grew the demo by 7%, which is considerably more than any other quarter grew the demo. And it grew in a number of various breakdowns of the demo, including M 18-49 and F 18-49 and P 18-34. So the most sequential growth for any quarter on Dynamite this week was the MJF promo. It was also the most viewed YouTube clip. So this confirms, this supports, I guess, my notion that, I guess this is slightly different. It's a slightly different point, actually, from what I've said in the past, right? Not inconsistent, but different. My point in the past has been, I think YouTube clips are a cleaner measurement of what segments were successful and, drew interest, attracted interest, because they don't include advertisements. Yes, they are ad-supported media, but they don't include advertisements at various arbitrary points in the program. They don't share clips of YouTube. Clips from YouTube do not share various things. So like in this quarter, we've got the MJF live promo, we've got an ad break, we've got a 2.0 Daniel Garcia promo, we've got the tag match entrances for the match that would follow in the following quarter. So we don't have this mixed bag of all these different things in this bag. The YouTube clip is just that segment. There's not the problem of, where on the show was it? If it was in Q1, it's going to be the most viewed. Definitely in the case of Dynamite, it's going to be the most viewed quarter, usually at least in total viewership. The demo is a little bit more varied, but the first quarter is probably going to be the most viewed quarter because of the Big Bang Theory lead-in. What's happening here is that the YouTube views, and at least my reading of the quarter hours, they add up. They're consistent. We can see strength in a clip on YouTube, consistent with strength in the quarter hour trends. That brings me to Edge. I should have done all the Raw ones at once. The number 2 clip on Raw, so the number 1 clip was the most watched quarter. The number 2 clip from YouTube of Raw is Edge in his chair doing another intense promo. That was, besides the Miz segment, and the Miz segment is the number 3 clip from Raw. The Miz segment did grow the audience by 5% in total and 3% in the demo. As the show goes on later and later, especially in the third hour, the audience really starts to show some attrition, as is usually the case. But in the case of the quarter 11, that included the Edge promo, we did see some growth there by 2% in total and 1% in the demo. 1% might not sound like a lot, but when you're talking about the third hour where the audience is mostly tuning out, in some quarters, they're losing 8% of the audience. In the final quarter, losing 7% of the audience, losing 13% of the demo in that final quarter. But the Edge promo not only maintained the audience, but grew it by a little bit. And I think that's consistent with the YouTube performance in this case. I will continue to belabor this point in the weeks to come.
Before we move on to the fight stuff, I do have a WWE thing I want to bring up here for the show. Mm-hmm. And I want to bring up because it ties in with the YouTube segment of the Brock Lesnar's opponent being named for Madison Square Garden. And it's kind of a strange thing to put on a television show, as that Madison Square Garden show, as right now, is not a Peacock special. It's just a house show. But I know WrestleTix, they did report on Monday, this is the last part, February 21st, that there were still 4,265 tickets available for that Madison Square Garden show, which is about 45% remaining of what they put up for capacity. It's very interesting that they're using their television platform to sell a house show ticket. Yes, it's a Garden, but very, very interesting.
Well, they've not done that great in the New York market. You know, the New York office has had some challenges selling tickets, and this is if for one thing, it's a point of pride for WWE. This is their home venue. You know, this is a Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, but what does that do for the television viewer in Iowa? Why do they care who Brock Lesnar wrestles on Saturday in a house show that they can't watch?
I don't know. But at the same time, I've been saying, you know, house shows are so irrelevant. They should be doing something to promote them. But I mean,
I guess so.
You can go back through. I mean, watch some old territory wrestling, and you're seeing, you know, promotions for matches that you would never see on television. The only way to see them was in person. Does that make it right or wrong? I don't know.
This is a company that proposed themselves as a global media company, though. Everything is available for consumption, right? So, like, you would think, and I believe, this is my theory, that if they weren't with Peacock and instead of WWE Network, that this would be a network special, as we've seen years before, where they've had like the Japan thing and a few other
I'm not sure, because the Madison Square Garden, I understand it's very expensive to do production out of, and that's why they've only rarely, the SmackDown that they did in MSG earlier in the summer was the first televised Madison Square Garden event by WWE in a number of years. So I don't know if, in the case of MSG, if it was some other arena, maybe. But just I know the costs of running an MSG are so high. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe there'll be an angle. Maybe there's some creative storyline reason about why they're putting emphasis on this. But clearly, this is a show that needs some help, and maybe they feel that they don't want to be embarrassed about the ticket sales or lack thereof for this event, especially in their strongest season, this winter season in the run to WrestleMania. So we'll see what happens there. But I think I just pointed out, ticket sales are doing better. But ticket sales are still, for house shows, they're well under 5,000. They're competitive in some types of comparisons with Dynamite, the Raw, and some of the SmackDown tapings are. And I think people don't want to pay for this product. 2 million people will watch it on television for free. Millions of people around the world will engage in social media, online, YouTube. But not as many people. There are people who want to engage in it but don't want to pay for it because the product isn't that good. They're engaged in some of the stories, and when I say stories, I don't mean storylines. I mean the stories about what's going to happen with certain people and what's happening in WWE. But it's not so good that they want to pay for it. At least, some people are paying for it, but some people are engaging and don't want to pay for it. I think that's what's happening. Why is that happening? It's because the quality of the product. Because you've alienated your core audience. That's my new talking point. I've realized that's the way to put it. They've alienated their core audience, and I see AEW as less of an alternative as it is capturing an alienated core audience, which I think a way to look at it. I think it's too nice to say, and it's not accurate enough to say that, oh, it's just an alternative. I mean, like, an alternative doesn't come this close in the demo and doesn't come this close in attendance. Volume for W is way higher, of course, but W has, spent at least the last it progressively, with progressive intensity over the years, in the last 10 years or so, 20 years, you could say, has alienated its core audience and been hostile to its core audience. I'm sure they wouldn't describe it that way, but that's what's happening in my view. Anyway.
Yeah, so we'll move on to some fight information that we learned, and because Triller, who recently acquired Fight, and Sea Change have filed a S4 on Tuesday related to their proposed merger, which disclosed some information about Fight TV, which Triller acquired in 2021. On July 30th, 2021, Triller acquired Fight TV, a content and technology company, consisted of cash consideration of approximately $27.7 million, equity consideration of approximately $16.8 million, and warrants with a total fair value of approximately $6.9 million. January 1st, July 20th, 2021, Fight generated $21.9 million revenue, but wasn't profitable, with a net loss of $7.8 million. The filing notes offer 15,000 plus hours of videos on demand and streams, 1,000 plus live events per year, to more than 5 million registered users worldwide for Fight.
What does this have to do with wrestling?
Well, because Fight is a streamer of many wrestling, but including AEW international events and GCW, which is probably their biggest, I would imagine, customer, I guess, if you could say it in that perspective, after AEW.
I think those Triller
in the wrestling world.
Okay, yeah.
In the wrestling world, sorry.
So, I think that this interested you especially.
Well, yes, and I put this up on the Wrestlenomics Instagram when you posted this on your Twitter, because for a company that is streaming so many wrestling events, and I was shocked for the loss.
Yes,
I was shocked that was that much of a loss.
Can round it. So this is from January 2021. So January last year to July, almost the full month of July. This must be like coinciding with when the acquisition took place, I guess. So this is not a full year even. This is about 7 months. Fight generated $22 million in revenue. Not profitable though. They lost $7.8 million. So $22 million. I would imagine, right? Like do they have a revenue stream other than pay-per-view sales and some subscription sales, right? I think that's all it is that I know of. I'm not an expert in what Fight does, but it's a pay-per-view distributor, and they do AEW Plus, which is probably big for them, and they do a number of other combat events, like they do. I think they do some MMA, and clearly they do boxing. They've done things with Triller that were a big deal. They've done the Jake Paul fights.
Yeah.
Have you seen the clips of like the slap fight things?
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
I have seen the slap fight stuff. Like, I think Ric Flair was the referee of the one slap fight.
Really? Yeah. Describe what this is. Describe what this competition is to people who don't know.
This is literally two competitors, and it's almost like they're separated, kind of a lot like arm wrestling, but basically it's slapping. One slap and then he slap back, and it's, I haven't watched
what is the object?
Fight.
How do you
I've just
win?
seen clips.
How do you win? What is the what are you trying to accomplish here? And
I would imagine when a competitor can't continue, but like, I also have never watched a full slap. I've just literally seen clips of it and seen it.
Well, let's not say more about it. But the trailer that I came across on LinkedIn was just, what is this? Anyway,
there's entertainment. Listen, Dinosaur MMA is the thing that came out recently that I really want to announce, because I think we're in that period of creative forms of combat.
What is Dinosaur MMA?
Dinosaur MMA And there was recently like a big arena show in Arizona a few months back, and it's these people in dinosaur costumes, like giant dinosaur costumes, and they're literally fighting each other, like in Tyrannosaurus Rex and Triceratops costumes, and
this is a legitimate contest.
I guess. But the way it was presented is
this is a shoot, brother. I'm gonna put on a dinosaur costume. You're gonna put on a dinosaur costume, and we're gonna have a shoot fight.
The way it looks like it was presented,
and we're gonna draw money.
It was a lot like a monster truck thing, you know what I mean? Just that big arena feel. We've seen medieval MMA become a thing over the last few years, where people wear like the knight costumes and they battle. And but as crazy as this sounds, you do know, Brandon, that the first UFC event, there was an original proposed idea for there to be a moat with alligators around the octagon. So I mean,
I didn't know that, or maybe I've heard that, but I don't remember. Yeah. People don't remember.
But combat sports is becoming more creative. I mean, you need to have a streaming outlet. But I was just, and with that, I was shocked that I was just, because everywhere you go, this is on Fight. This is on Fight. It seems like a lot of companies are jumping to Fight from IWTV and other streaming places.
Yeah. What is Triller?
So Triller was a pay-per-view streaming service, and they got big.
Triller is a social media platform. Did you know that?
Well, I know they put on the Mike Tyson Roy Jones pay-per-view.
Yes.
And that's kind of what put them on the map.
Yeah, let's not try to go into some depth about this, because I'm clearly like, I don't know. But they fashion themselves as a TikTok competitor. Anyway, they're losing money too. They're gonna merge with this company called Sea Change. They reported losses of $810 million as they've made a number of acquisitions, including Fight. Generating $81.8 million in revenue in 2021, $66.2 million in 2020. In 2020, pandemic year of 2020, lost only $75.4 million in that year. Again, $811 million in losses in 2021. So I think the idea is, we get all this time and attention, and maybe we're a social media platform, and Sea Change will help us. Sea Change is not a old company, or it's not a new company. It's been around since 1996. Okay. Now what?
Well, we've hit the hour mark. I guess you could finally get your wish. We could play a little Wrestlenomics Jeopardy.
Let's see here. Let's see if I have some Jeopardy. I have to find it though. PowerPoint is yelling at me. Okay, I have to find the slides, which are here. If anyone has a question or comment, or would like to contribute a clue to Wrestlenomics Jeopardy, provided that I can easily confirm what the correct answer is, feel free to contribute a super chat for any amount. And let's see, here it is. And I have to all right. Now where are the answers? No, the questions, right? Okay. So let's make sure this is there we go. Okay. View, can I turn off the notes? There we go. So, are you ready to play Wrestlenomics Jeopardy? Is there anything at stake here? What are the stakes? There's not enough stakes in wrestling. What are the stakes here? Is there anything that we are contesting, playing for? Are there any winnings?
A compensation to be named later, like they do in baseball. A player to be named later, that never happens.
Okay. Clue number 1. The former personal attorney to Donald Trump is among the lawyers representing MLW in its current lawsuit against WWE.
Oh, what? I know this off the tip of my tongue, but like, because we just talked about this. Oh, I want to say it's Levowitz or something.
That is incorrect. The correct response is Mark E. Kasowitz.
Kasowitz. All right. I was close.
Yes. Okay. Clue number 2. Paul Levesque's strategy introduced at the WWE Business Partner Summit in 2018, which called for WWE to launch developmental training centers on different continents around the world, was named this.
NXT Global Initiative?
That is incorrect. Global localization was the response we were looking for.
This could be a bad performance for me. I can already tell.
0 for 2. She was WWE's chief financial officer until her dismissal this past November.
Christina Salen.
Christina Salen is the correct answer. 2 for 3. 2 for 3. He immediately took her place as WWE's new permanent CFO.
Frank Riddick.
Frank Riddick is the correct answer. 2 for 2. In January 2022, WWE announced, then rescinded, a press release revealing a partnership with this international streaming platform.
Disney plus Hotstar.
That is correct. Now you're over 500 now. In December 2021, Tony Khan took to Twitter to fire back at this media organization after it published an article highlighting the firing of Urban Meyer from the Jaguars, as well as the cooling off of AEW.
Oh. Man, I can't remember this. I mean, I know this is wrong. Sports Illustrated. I know this.
That is incorrect. The correct answer is Fox News.
Fox News. Okay.
Fox News. Trying to this really needs some music here. There we go. Now we've got dramatic music going here. Now it's appropriate.
Apparently the listeners want the answers in question for them, so I will do that from now on.
Yeah, I know. I was going to disqualify you completely for that, but so. In December 2021, Tony Khan took to Twitter to fire back at this former AEW's wrestler's criticism about racial diversity, noting that her contract wasn't renewed because, quote, her wrestling wasn't good enough, end quote.
What is Big Swole?
That is correct. This parent company of Japanese wrestling companies, DDT and Noah, has a larger market capital than WWE and Bushiroad combined.
Man, I wish I would have been able to study for this. I know this is I'm gonna pass.
You gotta try. What?
I don't know. Wrestle Universe.
Did you say QuickBooks?
No, Wrestle Universe.
That is incorrect. That is the name of their streaming platform. The correct response is Cyber Agent. Cyber Agent is what we were looking for. How are we doing so far? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 incorrect answers so far.
3 correct, I think.
1, 2, 3, 4 correct. So I think you're 4 and 4 here. Okay, we've got 4 more left. Next, WWE's new talent recruitment program makes use of the college athletics name, image, and likeness policy, but the WWE program initialism using the same letters stands for this.
Next in line.
Next in line is the correct response. Next. She's not only the sister of WWE President Nick Khan, she's also the creator of the TV series based on the life of Dwayne Johnson, Young Rock.
Who is the Namshka Khan?
Say that again?
Who is the Namshka Khan?
Well, close enough. Nanachka Khan is the correct response. 2 more left. With events just 9 days apart, AEW outdrew WWE at this new venue on Long Island in late 2021.
What is the UBS Arena?
That is correct. We got the final one here. How are we doing here? 1. Yeah. How many correct out of? There's what? How many?
I think 6 correct.
There's 12. I got 12 clues for you. You've gotten how many correct? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you've already got half of them correct. Anyway, Final Jeopardy. NBC Universal and this soccer organization announced a new 6-year TV deal that will multiply the average annual value of their partnership's current payments by 2.7 times.
What is the English Premier League?
That is correct. That's all. You got most of the answers, or the questions, however you should phrase it in Jeopardy terms. You got most of them correct.
And I was trying to remember how they answer in Jeopardy, so I should have said, who is Big Swole?
Not who is Big Swole? What is the English Premier League? And so forth, and things of that nature.
I don't watch a lot of Jeopardy. Haven't in a while. Used to.
Jeopardy's on primetime broadcast TV. There's the college edition. I haven't watched it, but I'm seeing it in the ratings reports all the time. Only an hour 6. We've made it under the deadline here. I think that's all I've got here. Please hit the thumbs up. That really helps us. Share this video. Share the podcast. Subscribe on YouTube or on your podcast app. We thank, as always, Post Wrestling for being our fantastic media distribution partner. You can subscribe to Wrestlenomics on Patreon and get the TV ratings reports nearly every day. Basically the only place to get the New Japan reports. New Japan going to first run this coming week. The classic episodes are over with. The reruns are done with. New Japan's going to first run. But TV ratings reports every day. Every weekday at least. Dynamite and Rampage quarters. Last couple of weeks I've been getting Raw quarters. I got a SmackDown quarter hour this past week too. We'll see. I don't know if that'll continue, but we'll see. You get access to the giant viewership spreadsheet, the audio version of Live TV Ratings Talk. Occasionally I throw other stuff on there. Live TV Ratings Talk is every Thursday, 5:30 p.m. on the Wrestlenomics YouTube channel, just after the Dynamite rating comes out. There's merch at store.postwrestling.com. There's the Wrestlenomics ratings game. Predict the Dynamite 1849 demo rating in the Post Wrestling Discord in the Wrestlenomics channel. And you have a new graphic, Chris Gullo. Look at this.
I saw that. It's one of my favorite pictures. I'll start off rediscovering the indies. We just released a new episode this past week, part 1 of our Birch Prentice big deep dive. This is going to be a big multi-part episode. It's a deep dive. This we covered from 1991 to 1994. In that time period, he ran 6 promotions and was also a booker for 2, and then was managing in the USWA. So lots of great stories, lots of great facts that we learned. A lot of Dallas drama. Everyone competing over that Dallas market years later after it was probably profitable. So it's a very fun episode. We're going to do 2 and 3 in the next coming months. So stay tuned for that. You can catch me announcing this Saturday night in the Buffalo area. I will be in Niagara Falls at the Frontier Fire Hall for ESW Spring Breakdown.
I'm probably agenting that again, aren't I?
Probably, yeah. So that should be a big show, headlined by Kevin Bennett challenging Kevin Blackwood for the ESW heavyweight title. If you've been paying attention to the independent wrestling scene, Kevin Blackwood, somebody who's been really blowing up over the last few months.
New Japan Strong, right?
New Japan Strong, Game Changer Wrestling had been a regular there, and Prestige definitely working for some pretty big promotions. I will what else is that? I mean, that show is stacked. You can go to eswwrestling.com and all the social media for that. And then that's for me this week as far as that. And then if you're looking for a ring announcer, interviewer, commentator, or any of the likes, I am pro wrestling's utility man, I like to say. I will be available. I will be in Dallas from March 31st to April 3rd.
Do you referee? Do you take referee?
I do referee as well. Yes, yeah. Haven't put on the stripes in a while, but yes, I have ref before.
You are experienced in the rules of professional wrestling.
Yes.
Are you are you licensed by any athletic commissions to referee?
No.
Do the athletic commissions require referees to have licenses?
They do not. Not the ones that I've worked in. But yeah, so if you're looking at, I already have 2 shows, one in Friday night in Arlington, one Saturday night in Fort Worth. But plenty of spots available. Just hit me up and let's do business together.
Okay, that's it. We will be back. I think I'm going to be back later this week with a special guest. More on that on my social media. Talk to you next time.